WWE has so many top stars in the company nowadays, and with that it means only so many significant pushes can be given. And whilst I do believe that WWE for the most part are quite good at giving all their roster equal opportunity, there are a select few WWE wrestlers who I think deserve better, are underrated, and I would personally like to see them doing more in the WWE. Videos like these are always divisive, so make sure you sound off in the comments with who you think in the WWE deserves better, and make sure to like and subscribe, and let's talk about who I think deserves better in the WWE. Dragon Lee announced he had signed for the WWE on December 28, 2022 at a AAA event, and Dragon Lee would go straight to NXT, and this signing was definitely an unexpected one for the time. But Dragon Lee proved himself very quickly in NXT, as the first half of 2023 saw Dragon Lee competing in various title matches such as the North American title and Heritage Cup. And he was unsuccessful in those matches, but was having good showings and in general was just putting on banger after banger. And then come August, he would get into his first proper storyline where he started feuding with Dominic Mysterio over the North American title, which he would win off Dominic at NXT Deadline at the end of the year to win his first title in the WWE. Dragon Lee and Dominic would continue feuding, and this feud would see Dragon Lee making a few main roster appearances, as Dragon Lee would lose his belt to Obafemi on the January 9th, 2024 episode of NXT. And after Dragon Lee failed to regain the belt, it was clear that he was getting called up to the main roster. He went up to the main roster and immediately resumed his feud with Dominic Mysterio as he joined the LWO. And Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio were set to face Dominic and Santos Escobar on the first night of WrestleMania. However, for whatever reason, WWE had a change of heart, and an injury angle was done to remove Dragon Lee from the match and replace him with Andrade. I got no issue with Andrade being on the card obviously, but Dragon Lee got done dirty here. He returned soon after WrestleMania, where it was revealed that Carlito was the one who attacked him, and Carlito would then subsequently beat him in a match to end the feud, and Dragon Lee kinda got nothing out of all of this. And since then, Dragon Lee has hardly been seen on TV and is mostly used on main event. It seemed like WWE were really intent on pushing him at one point, and he rose up to the main roster super quick, so I wonder why that suddenly slowed down. It's kind of been all downhill since he was removed from that match at WrestleMania, which I still don't get why they did that. Dragon Lee is still 29 though, so he still has plenty of years left, and there's plenty of time for Dragon Lee to get more opportunities, but I do hope they come in the near future. Now here's a pick that might divide opinion. Zoey Stark is someone in the WWE I'm a big fan of, and she was signed to the WWE in 2021 following a near-decade career working the indies, and very quickly Zoey Stark would get involved in title programs and was getting wins on pay-per-view. At NXT Great American Bash 2021, herself and Io Shirai would win the NXT Women's Tag Team titles, and just like that, Zoey Stark was a champion in just her first 6 months. Zoey and Io had a fine reign with the belts, as they lost them about 3 months later to Toxic Attraction at Halloween Havoc, and then shortly after this, Zoey Stark would suffer an unfortunate injury as she tore her ACL, MCL and meniscus, which would leave her out of action for about 7 months. She returned in July 2022 and was straight back in the title scene as she challenged for the NXT Women's title unsuccessfully off Mandy Rose, and then would start teaming with Nikita Lyons. But after they failed to win the NXT Women's Tag titles, Zoey Stark turned on Nikita, thus turning heel for the first time in her WWE career. Starks would defeat Nikita Lyons in a one-on-one match, and then as part of the 2023 draft, she was called up to the main roster. It seemed like the right time for the call up, and very quickly she was getting involved in big angles, as at Night of Champions 2023, she helped Trish Stratus in her match against Becky Lynch and would align herself with Trish. She competed in the Women's Money in the Bank match unsuccessfully and would continue feuding with Becky Lynch through the summer alongside Trish Stratus. She faced Becky Lynch on the main event of the August 28, 2023 Raw in a Falls Count Anywhere match where Becky got the win after miscommunication from Starks and Trish. The alliance between Zoe Stark and Trish Stratus would end after Zoe turned on Trish and turned face after failing to help her in her match against Becky Lynch at Payback. And this was a big moment for Zoe Stark, or so it should have been, except there was no follow-up and Starks wasn't at all elevated from this moment as she immediately got lost in the shuffle following this. She formed a makeshift tag team with Shayna Baszler, which to my surprise has still stuck around all the way up until now, and they floated around the women's tag division. They've had various title shots but they always fail to win, and now they're joined by Sonya Deville as a trio called the Pure Fusion Collective, and Zoe Stark is a heel once again. The Pure Fusion Collective at the moment don't feel like a very credible trio. I think that could change for sure, but they are of course kind of just thrown together, and every title match they have, they simply just lose. I personally really enjoy Zoe and think she's a really solid in-ring worker. Her mic work could definitely improve, but why not give her a mouthpiece? I don't think this stable is really helping any of the three of them in it, and they are at the very bottom of all the women's groups on the main roster, and I might be alone in this one, but I think Zoe Stark has lots of potential on her own, and I want to see her doing more, hence why I've included her in this video. Candice LeRae is now on her second WWE run, and in both her WWE runs, I think they've had the same problem, and I think that she's been underpushed in both. Candice LeRae first came to the WWE as part of the Mae Young Classic in 2017, and though she didn't win, she was signed to the company at the start of 2018 and would go to NXT. And in 2018, she pretty much spent all of it on NXT TV, just being known as Johnny Gargano's partner on TV, and she was never really involved in anything credible and was often losing on TV. The first half of 2019 was more of the same, but during summer of that year, she would start feuding with Io Shirai, and this feud was finally an opportunity for Candice LeRae to show who she is. She would fall short to Io at NXT TakeOver Toronto in an amazing match and a great showing for Candice in her first WWE pay-per-view match. Candice would be part of that year's War Games match where herself and Rhea Ripley would win despite the odds stacked against them, and 2020 would see Candice LeRae turn heel for the first time, as in April of that year she would debut a whole new look. She would start picking up some victories and would begin feuding with Io Shirai again, this time over Io's NXT Women's title. She'd failed to win the title at NXT TakeOver 31, but they had a rematch at Halloween Havoc in a ladder match, which she also lost. And I was so annoyed when she lost that match at the time, and to be honest, I still kind of am. I really think she should have won that ladder match. Candice, however, would turn her woes around slightly as she competed and led a team in War Games once again, and they defeated Shotzi Blackheart's team. Shortly after this, she would start appearing in numerous segments alongside Johnny Gargano, Austin Theory, and Indy Hartwell, and eventually they would form a group together to be called The Way. And The Way were a very entertaining group and one of the best parts of NXT in 2021, and that year on May 4th, Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae would win the NXT Women's Tag titles, beating Shotzi and Ember Moon in a street fight in Candice's one and only title reign in the WWE. They would hold the titles for only about 2 months though, as the group would disband and Candice LeRae would take time off as she was pregnant, as well as this Johnny Gargano's contract had expired, and during Candice's maternity leave her contract expired too, and so both were out the company and on hiatus. Candice LeRae would of course return from this hiatus though, as she came back to the WWE on September 28, 2022, and she was kinda immediately re-established as a lower card borderline jobber. And though herself and Indy Hartwell reunited at the start of 2023, it's really been a whole lot of nothing since for Candice LeRae. Herself and Indy are still teaming, and despite being one of the only actual teams in the division, they are nowhere near one of the top teams in the division. Candice also randomly turned heel earlier this year when she went full Christian Cage mode on Maxine and randomly brought up her dead brother for some reason mid-match, but this was not followed up on at all and did nothing for Candice in the end, who's still in the exact same spot. why did they do this? I think the main issue I've had with Candice LeRae's WWE runs is that she's never really been on her own. I liked The Way, and her and Indy are alright as a team, but I'd like to see her away from Johnny Gargano or any tag partner, and just as a single star on her own, face or heel. But I feel the ship may have sailed on doing that with her at this point, and Candice will always be one of my favourites, and I still pray that hopefully one day we can see her holding a title again in the WWE. I think that's deserved. Guys, that's it from me. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments, if you agree or disagree, and what your own thoughts are. I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, and keep on rolling.